Coming up on the game plan with Ron Rivera. After a long layoff since falling to the Bears on Thursday Night Football, the Commanders are back in action this afternoon in Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Coach takes us into the film room to look at how Chase Young has been putting pressure on the opposing offenses. And we'll review some of the Falcons game tape to find out how Washington can come back home with a dub. It's your inside look at the game plan with Ron Rivera, and it starts right now. The game plan with Ron Rivera is presented by your local Honda dealer. Feel the power of Honda's most electrifying vehicles yet, like the CR-V Hybrid and Accord Hybrid. Find adventure in a rugged SUV like the Pilot Trail Sport, or experience performance in a fun-to-drive Civic. Find your perfect Honda. See your local Honda dealer today. And by the Maryland Lottery Fast Play Games. Play fast, win fast today. Please play responsibly. Welcome to the game plan with me, Logan Paulson, and Coach. No introduction needed there. Coming off a little bit of a bye with the Thursday night game, you had a lot of things you wanted to get taken care of. How'd all that go? How'd the implementation go?
I thought it went really well. You had an opportunity to do some self-scouting. We had a chance to go back and we had to review a couple things and really see what we've done well and work to get even better at it, and what we didn't do as well to improve and get better. That's for sure.
Yeah, one of the things as a player I always loved coming off that Thursday night game is it gave you time to kind of recharge the batteries, refresh, reflect. How have the guys been this week of practice?
I thought they had a great reflection. I really did. And they came back in Wednesday hungry to practice. Yeah. That was probably the best thing. Yeah. They're past it. They've moved on, which is good. Now we're focusing on Atlanta. I thought Thursday and Friday were good days for us as well.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned Atlanta. Obviously, they are a team. I think you probably have a little bit of familiar with the defense that they're running there. It's very similar to what they ran in New Orleans. Offensively, what are the expectations going against this group that I think is pretty good? Like, I think they play above their skis. Let's say that.
Well, one thing they do is again, Arthur Smith comes from Tennessee. Yeah. He's known for running the football. Yeah. He really does. But the other thing he's done very well too, though, is he moves and shifts and motions people a lot to try and create a little confusion as to how you're going to play against them and get your mind off being focused. And so again, as we've gone through it, we've looked at it. We know offensively they're going to try and run the ball. They're going to run the play action off of it. They're going to use the quarterback to run the ball or create the illusion he's going to run the ball. They have a very good back in Bijan Robinson who they can get the ball to as either a runner or a receiver. So there's a lot of challenges for this.
Yeah, you mentioned Bijan Robinson. I mean, he's something special. I mean, you don't take a running back that high and him not be special, but he reminds me a lot of Christian McCaffrey, and it seems like they're trying to get into that utilization package. How do you account for a weapon like that?
Well, what you got to do more than anything else is you do have to be aware of where he's aligned. You got to understand what you're going to get if he's lined up, in an offset. You're going to get the RPO package or the zone read stuff. If he's lined up behind the quarterback, you're going to get some sort of stretch combination. Okay. If he moves out into the slot, he's going to run some sort of wheel or some sort of quick in. If he has the X, you're going to get stop and go. You get double move. So there's a lot to know for this where they line this young man.
Yeah, just based on formation, right? And in addition to that, they've got Kyle Pitts, Drake London, kind of this basketball team of receivers. How do you feel like you guys match up with that skill set?
I think we match up pretty well. We've got some pretty tall DBs, and we feel pretty good about it. I really do, because Kyle Pitts is a guy that when they line him up outside as a wide receiver, you can match up with him because again, it's when you have a Benjamin St. Juste with his size, if he comes out to Benjamin's side, we'll have Benjamin on him. We'll have an opportunity. Kyle Fuller, he's pretty good size guy.
Yeah, pretty good size guy, stout guy. So I agree. I think the matchup favors you guys really well.
As does Cam Curl.
Absolutely. And then defensive line versus the offensive line. Any thoughts on that? Do you feel good about the matchup? I know that group's rated really highly on national media outlets.
I do. I mean, but again, it's about really how you play on Sunday. Yeah. People can give you all the rankings you want, tell you all you want. What happens is you play a game on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're excited to watch Chase Young. We're going to talk about him a little more in a second. Here's a look at Chase Young's numbers from the season. Obviously, the defense is struggling a little bit, but I think this guy's going to be the spark. In the Bears game, 37.9 win percentage from a pass run standpoint. To give you some context, Nick Bosa, 29.2. That's almost a full 10 points higher. This guy's playing good football. We're going to go in the film room and check it out with Coach. Time to head over to the film room presented by the Maryland Lottery Fast Play Games. Play fast, win fast today. Please play responsibly. All right, Coach, let's talk about someone who I think is having a really good year. And it's good to have him back on the field coming off the injury, and that's our guy, number 99, Chase Young. And I look at this first play, and I think it encapsulates a lot of what he does well. It's kind of this sprint draw. Quarterback's going to run laterally. They're going to try and get the defense to displace, and they're going to it's almost like a pseudo trap. They're going to let these two guys go up the field, hoping that they're not paying attention. Then you get extra hats up on the linebackers, and they had a couple big plays against the Jets with this run. But I love what Chase is doing here. Good vision of the ball, and makes a nice tackle.
Well, Well, the big thing is, again, he's reading his basic key, and that is, what is he getting from the tackle?
Sure.
Okay, he's getting what really is just the draw block.
Yes.
He feels it, he sees it, keeps his eyes where he needs to, doesn't let the quarterback influence him to make him hesitate. He gets off of it, he squeezes flat, and makes the play.
And again, like another guy that we talk about a lot is John. Does a great job here too. Yes. Gets that same type of screen, draw block, whatever it is, something that's not super physical, right? And they're able to get it on the tackle.
One of the biggest things that we try to make sure our defense line understands is we're going to play the run on our way to the quarterback. So if you watch how Jonathan's going, he's getting vertical right now into his crease. He recognizes what's happening and reacts to it. Because of that, again, good, smart football player, good technique on this play. Those are the things that really help us.
And it's nice to see them kind of elevating each other. Yes. Like if Chase isn't here, John doesn't get on this play, and so it's nice to see two guys, high draft picks, playing good football together. So that's nice to see for sure. The other thing is, again, his awareness. I think people sleep on how aware he is. This to me, this is like putting the defensive end in a really tough spot. They're going to run a keeper here. They're going to bring this tight end around to kind of block the edge. They're going to run a zone read action in the backfield. They're going to read Chase. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And it would be very easy to kind of lose your responsibility. But he does a great job, closes down, and then you see the athleticism to get on this play.
Right. And the biggest thing what you tell Chase is, as the play happens, you have to throw your eyes downfield. So, again, here's the action. He sees this coming. He throws his eyes ahead. He sees the blocker coming to try and seal him. Now what he does, because of his athleticism, he bursts outside, gets the tight end to overset. He makes a quick inside move, and now he can get to the quarterback.
Yeah, I didn't even really notice that, but I think when you're looking at his eyes here, Coach, it's kind of tough to see, but they go from the tight end, they shift up the field, and then it allows him to make that play you're describing.
Correct. And again, that's doing your job, understanding what's being asked of me. I got to set a vertical edge, okay? Now, they got me to come down the line because of the action. Second thing, I threw my eyes ahead. I see the blocker. I react to the blocker, and I work back outside to a certain point where I feel I can beat him, get inside.
Yeah, and you can see that here a little bit. Like his eyes, like they just snap right up the field. Oh, that's bad circle placement. Let's do it one more time. Here we go. Right up the field there to make that play on the quarterback. Love to see that. And again, you can't coach the athlete. That's the thing I always come back with him. If he's got the awareness, but the athlete is something that's really special.
Yeah. I always tell people there's some things I can't coach, and that's one of them. That athletic burst, that's natural.
Yeah, and I know this isn't a sack here, Coach, but this is like, I love this rush, because one of the things when I see good pass rushers, they trust their pass rush line.
Yes.
They don't go up the field. They don't diddle-daddle with their feet. They trust their line. I see him trusting the line here. Aggressive, into the block, not great with his hands, but love the rip to finish. Like that's elite stuff. And if you can start doing that more and more, it's going to lead to sack production, which is great.
And the biggest thing, too, is that if you go back and you watch from the start of it, we have what we call a launch point. And for the most part, that launch point is really right behind that tackle, okay? So now his whole point is to beat him to that set point. Once he does, he knows he can lean in. So like you said, he trusts everything, a little stutter to make him soft, okay? Because, again, if you don't get this guy soft, he's going to be stout and ready to take you on. But that little stutter is what softens him just enough. Now he can use his power and push him into the quarterback.
And it's one of those things you see with the hands here. Like the softness, like he gets soft because his hands get a little wide. He gives up his chest. Let's Chase in there. Great job. And again, we got to finish it, but love to see that, because that wasn't something we were seeing from him before. So.
Well, again, a year ago he was still just coming back.
That's right.
He was still just coming back. Now, after a good training camp, after a good start to the season, you see what he can do and you see his ability coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is another one of these ones where, like, you see the athlete, you see the ability, you see the awareness. Like for him, because look, I look at this and I'm saying everyone's doing their job. He's the guy that they're trying to put in conflict here with the quarterback by the action. They're trying to get him to slow down so he won't be in pursuit. So love to see this kind of pursuit and this ability to kind of make this play.
Again, we talk about great launch angles. Now what he's doing is, you notice how he initially gets upfield to a certain point.
Yeah.
He's reading the quarterback the whole time.
Yep.
Okay, he's not just going flat down the line, because a lot of times defensive ends are taught that if that tackle goes, you come flat off his hip. No, he does what he's supposed to. He gets his depth first.
Love it.
Then as he sees the toss, he can now focus in on getting to the ball.
Well, I love the finish, love the tackle. And again, I think it's great to see him coming back healthy, and great to see his impact on this defense. Can't wait to see what he does against the Atlanta Falcons.
That'll be exciting.
Yep. If you guys like this show, make sure you check out Command Center. That's the flagship Commanders program. Fred, Santana, myself, we break down exclusive Commanders content on Thursday. This week, we had an awesome game called Fast Break. We got competitive. Fred cheated, but Fred cheats. That's all right. That's on Thursdays on the Commanders YouTube channel. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, Coach and I are headed into his office to review some of the Falcons game tape. It's insight and access you won't get anywhere else. That's next on The Game Plan with Ron Rivera, presented by your local Honda dealer. Welcome back to The Game Plan. It's time for the Rivera Review, presented by DC Prime, Loudoun's premier steakhouse. For dinner reservations or private dining, call 703-840-2099. All right, Coach, got the Atlanta Falcons this week going on the road. Obviously, they are a very unique team. I feel like they're kind of a throwback team, very much a team that's built around running the football first. But they do have a bunch of very unique playmakers. And through the play action, through running the football, they can get those guys the football.
They can. And they are a throwback, but you do see the elements of today's game most certainly with these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So this play I really like because they got a little play action, kind of a new age play action, something you might see in Kansas City, and getting the ball to your big tight end up the seam, a guy who I thought was one of the best tight ends I've ever evaluated, like in Kyle Pitts. And, he's not on the field all the time, but he can make plays, and they are using him more.
Yeah, he most certainly is a receiving threat, that's for sure. And probably the biggest thing that they do more so than anything else is with this play action. Yeah. The whole idea is to get the underneath coverage to come up a little bit. So as they do that, and once they get these guys to react, now what it does, it's going to open up the second level for the most part. The linebackers have been sucked up for the play. Now they're going to their drop. And what will happen is they're going to drop a little shallow and a little short of where they need to be. And again, if this is not the play action and the back swinging, these linebackers just may have settled a little bit deeper and would have, really tried to get Ritter to throw the ball to the flat.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think, who is that, number 39 right there? Like, it's a very subtle thing, but they do step up to the pitch, and it just affects him enough that it creates this pocket. Also, the play design, stressing this flat defender, number one, the whole thing is really well designed. This is a cover 3 structure. You guys do run a lot of single high structure. Why is this such a challenge, in this coverage structure?
Because what happens here is, again, because you've taken the linebackers, the second level players, and they've stepped up a little bit, it's created the hole. Now what happens is by stressing the curl to flat defender, he now has to read off of what's going on with number 1 to his side, who's now number 5.
I see.
So as he's reading that, what he's going to do is he's going to widen with London, okay? And as he widens, but he's staying on top of him and shallow instead of sinking a little bit more, it now opens up the hole.
It's so funny, like how small those details are. You're talking really about a couple of feet.
Yes, you really are. And the beauty of it, though, too, is, again, with the receiver running through the top of it, okay? Now what happens is you see the outside third safety is now going to latch on to him. And again, there's that hole. It's right around the number 10 on that line, and you're going to see where the ball gets thrown, right into that hole.
And I think this is a pretty nice throw. Like, Ritter's been a little bit up and down, but I think he does have something to him. He has something to his game that gets you kind of saying, wow, if he figures it out, he could be a good football player.
Very much so, because, again, his ability to throw the ball is there. I was at his pro day, got a chance to watch him make all the throws. He's got a terrific arm. And on this throw, what you really like about it is how it drops in over the top of the underneath 100%. Coverage, okay, and right to where only he can catch it away from the breaking safety. If he threw that at his head, the breaking safety might have a chance to get his hands into the ball, but he doesn't, because, again, the ball was thrown away from the breaking defender.
Yeah, another thing when we go to the end zone here, is one of the things I love is that play action does help protect this offensive line, which I think is a good group, but how do you kind of get the defensive line ready for all the stuff that they bring and kind of changing the rush angles and the launch point for the quarterback in these play action looks?
Well, the big thing that you have to do first and foremost is as a pass rusher, you've got to continue to keep the mentality that I'm going to play the run on my way to the quarterback. If I start trying to truly defend every action, I'll never be in position to get vertical. And here's a great example of it, because if you watch the play on the 3 technique here, see how he ends up going laterally first? And again, that's because of the action. If he was able to get straight into that crease without the action going to his left, see, because 65's momentum is going to carry him and widen him, okay? if he didn't, if 65 was just setting, this guy has a chance to get to Ritter before he can launch the ball.
Yeah, and I think even a good example, what you're talking about is this defensive end here, too, number 92. Like, he's setting a good edge here, but he gets wide with the back. Like, he's letting the back affect his rush angle. So I think that's a great point. Like, and, you know, when you see teams that have had success against this D-line, they run a lot of play action. So it's about getting those guys disciplined with those eyes and ready to rock and roll. So really looking forward to seeing that matchup.
Absolutely. This is an interesting one, too, because, again, they're showing you 7 up at the line.
Yep.
Okay. They've got an uncovered guy over here.
Yep.
Okay. But they rush 3, drop 8.
Yes.
You know, we call it simulated coverage.
Yeah.
All right. So for the most part, what they're trying to do is they're trying to sell you that they're going to run a pressure.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happens is if you look at what they've done, they've walked the nickel over on the outside. Mm-hmm. They've taken the free safety and lined him up over the top of the slot receiver.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Typically, that tells what? That tells
it's blitz.
It's zone pressure coverage. Okay, so that means we've got a middle close defense supposedly.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you watch and you see what happens, okay, with this motion, they tell you a little bit of a lie.
Because this guy starts widening out.
Right, because
he can't be the post player, right?
Correct.
I gotcha.
If this really was, what would have happened was one of those 2 guys at the very end now would have that guy.
Right.
Okay, so and he would have stayed right where he was.
Yeah.
But as soon as he moves outside of that hash, okay, now you sit there and go, okay, he's too wide. He doesn't have the remaining back, so they're not in a zero pressure.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's really subtle, but again, one of those details that gives it away. And again, I look at this and I say, this is something the defensive coordinators from New Orleans, this is something New Orleans used to run a ton of.
Absolutely. They were so good at it, too.
Yeah.
And you know, he comes from New Orleans. He was the co-defensive coordinator there at one point, so you know he's got a lot of great ideas because everything that he's done and he's doing has been tried and has been proven to be pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, this was a lot of fun, man. A lot of good insight from you today. Lots of little details. That gets me fired up. Thanks so much, Coach.
All right.
Make sure you guys check out the Players Club. London Fletcher, Santana Moss, and your favorite Commanders player sit down to talk about the game in a way only those who played the game can. This week, it's B-Rob. He's got a doc out on YouTube called Warrior. They talk about that, and they also talk about so much more. Check it out, Saturday nights, 11:35 p.m. on WUSA 9. We're not done yet. When we come back, I'm going to get Coach to give me the key to leaving Atlanta with the dub. That's next on the Game Plan with Ron Rivera, presented by your local Honda dealer. Welcome back to the Game Plan. It's time for some healthy competition presented by Ortho Virginia, the official orthopedic and sports medicine partner of the Washington Commanders. Here's a look at the competition today for the Commanders. Obviously, the Falcons are a run-first team. They're good at stopping the run. I personally think these numbers got to flip. I think we want to see Washington run the football a little bit better, and I want to see Washington stop the run better in this game. Can't wait to see this matchup.
No, we look at it as a one-game approach. I mean, we've got 12 games left, but you can only play them one at a time, so that's our focus. You know, this week we've done nothing but talk about Atlanta. We haven't looked ahead. We've stayed right where we are, and that's, you know, preparing for these guys.
Make sure you guys check out Command Center Game Day Live, 3:15 p.m. Sunday. Brian Mitchell, Santana Moss, 2 Washington legends will be there to give you their takes, to give their unadulterated insight in this game. They were always ready for their games. They're going to make sure you're ready for this game. And make sure you stay tuned to after the game for Command Center Post-Game Live. B. Mitch and I will be on there, and we are going to hit this game from every single angle. Totally different perspectives, but we always get everything covered. Check it on Commanders YouTube, Facebook, and X. It's time for your ticket to a dub, presented by SeatGeek, the official primary ticketing partner of the Washington Commanders. All right, Coach, now what's the ticket to leaving Atlanta with a dub? Let's start with the offensive side of the football.
Well, first of all, protect the football, protect the quarterback. Give him an opportunity to push the ball downfield. Secondly, run the ball effectively when called upon running it.
I know you're excited for that.
I am, because again, last time we played them here, it was a very physical game.
And
this is going to be a very physical game, and we've got to be prepared for it.
That's one thing about this team that I think is really interesting. Is like they, you know, there's not a name on there. You're like, that dude's super, but that's a team.
Yes.
Offensively, defensively, they're very physical. How do you get the guys ready for something something like that?
Well, we practice in pads. We practice at a high level, high tempo on Wednesday. So I thought our guys got a good understanding for it.
Absolutely. And then defensively, you've mentioned all the stuff they did offensively, how complicated it is. What's the ticker for those guys to have success this week?
Well, first and foremost, play what you see.
Yeah.
Play to your rules. Secondly, get after their quarterback.
Oh, got to, right?
And contain the run. Don't let Bijan, get off to a good start.
And you say everyone says contain the run, but when a team is as committed as Atlanta, like how challenging can that be in terms of saying we're gonna take away the thing you do best?
It is challenging because again they're going to continue to pound and pound and pound, and they're hoping at some point you break. And what you can't do is you can't let them sustain it. You can't have 8-9 yard runs. You've got to keep them minimal as much as possible.
And how important is game flow in something like that? I always think about with teams that like to run the football. If offensively you get out there and put a little bit of pressure on them, it gets them out of what they want to do. Is that part of this process?
And that's true because again, if they're having success on first and second downs, third downs becomes what they want. They want third and short. Now with the third and short, with an offense like this, they have everything. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball quickly. They can throw the ball deep. They can stay with their play action on third and short as well.
Yeah, and that can be really challenging. In terms of matchup, is there someone that you're really excited to see? Like I'm excited to see Caleb McGarry versus Montez Sweat, two really physical, good football players. There's somebody like I got this circled for me this week.
Not necessarily because one thing I've got to pay attention to is really the whole flow, the whole
thing.
game.
They're all your kids, right?
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah. So in addition to kind of what they're doing offensively, defensively, they present some different kind of coverage structures with a young quarterback. How do you get him ready for that? You talked a little about in the film room. Is there anything more you do for that?
Well, yeah, one of the things that we do is, again, it's about your pre-snap read, your post-snap read. Once you get the balls, you're going back to making sure that what you saw initially is what you're seeing now.
You love it, Coach. Coach, good luck good luck today. Really appreciate it. If you guys like this content, make sure you tune in next week. We'll be here same time.